The old house creaked with silence, the kind of silence that felt heavy, like a reminder of time passing too quickly. In the dimly lit bedroom, an old man lay on his bed, frail and forgotten by the world outside. His eyes, once sharp with wisdom and pride, now stared at the ceiling as though the memories of his life were painted across it. His breath came in slow, shallow waves, and his hands trembled slightly against the white sheets. He had been wealthy once, powerful even, but all that remained now was a lonely body confined to a bed, waiting for the end. Most people had stopped visiting him long ago. Except her. She was not related to him. She had no fortune to gain, no inheritance to chase. She was just the caregiver, a young woman named Clara, who carried a gentleness that softened even the hardest days. Every evening, after ensuring he had eaten, taken his medicine, and was settled, Clara would sit on the small wooden stool beside his bed. And then she would sing. Her voice was not polished, not trained by professionals, but it carried something far more powerful, sincerity. She sang softly, as if her voice could stitch the pieces of his broken spirit back together, even for just a while. Her songs weren't for money. They weren't part of her job description. She sang because she knew the old man was lonely, and loneliness, she believed, was heavier than sickness itself. What Clara didn't know was that tonight, as her voice floated through the old house, someone stood silently at the doorway. Someone who hadn't visited in years. Someone who carried the weight of guilt, resentment, and distance. The old man's estranged son, Ethan. A man with the face of success, a sharp suit that screamed wealth, and the air of someone who believed he had conquered the world. Yet, at this moment, he was not the confident millionaire the world admired. He was simply a son, standing frozen as he watched a stranger offer his father the love and comfort he himself had forgotten to give. And in that moment, something inside him shifted. Right finger if you believe in kindness, in second chances, and in the power of small acts of love that change lives, please take a second to like this video, share it with others, and subscribe to Royal Stories. Your support helps us keep telling heartfelt stories like this one. Clara didn't notice Ethan watching. She kept her head bowed slightly, her hand resting gently on the old man's trembling fingers. She sang an old lullaby she remembered from her own childhood, one her mother used to hum when life felt unbearable. Clara herself knew hardship too well. She had grown up poor, working multiple jobs to keep herself and her younger brother alive after their parents passed away. The world had rarely been kind to her, yet she refused to harden her heart. She believed in healing, in kindness, in offering the love she once desperately needed. Perhaps that was why she treated this old man, someone else's father, as though he were her own. Ethan stood at the doorway, memories flooding his mind like a storm he had tried to outrun for years. His father had been hard, strict, often consumed by his empire of business deals and investments. Ethan had grown up feeling like success was the only language his father understood. When he was younger, he tried to win his father's approval, but nothing was ever enough. The distance grew, words turned to silence, and eventually, Ethan left to build his fortune, vowing never to look back. He had wealth now, more than his father ever imagined, but he realized he had lost something more valuable, connection. And now here was this caregiver, a stranger, offering his father something he himself had denied him, tenderness. As the days passed, Ethan returned secretly, always arriving when Clara thought she was alone with the old man. He watched her feed him with patience, talk to him even when he couldn't always answer, and sing to him as though time itself paused just for that moment. Ethan began to notice something else too, the weariness in Clara's eyes. Behind her gentle smile was exhaustion. She often skipped meals, wore the same faded clothes, and once, he saw her quietly wiping away tears after receiving a phone call. He didn't know then, but she was drowning under the weight of unpaid bills, her brother's schooling, and the burden of survival. Still, she gave more of herself to his father than anyone else had in years. The story unfolded like a quiet storm. One evening, Ethan couldn't stay hidden any longer. He stepped into the room, his shadow falling across the floor. Clara looked up, startled, unsure of who he was. The old man stirred, his weak eyes struggling to focus until they finally widened with recognition. "Ethan," he whispered, his voice breaking with both surprise and longing. For a moment, silence hung heavy in the room. Then Ethan, swallowing the lump in his throat, walked closer. He didn't know what to say. Years of distance, of anger, of pride, how could he undo them with a single sentence? It was Clara who gently spoke, breaking the silence. She simply smiled and told the old man that his son had come to see him. The old man's lips quivered into the faintest of smiles, and Ethan felt something fracture inside him. For the first time in years, he sat at his father's bedside, holding his hand. And that night, when Clara sang, Ethan stayed. He listened not just with his ears, but with his heart. The days that followed became a journey of healing, for both father and son. Ethan began visiting regularly, sometimes staying to talk, other times just sitting in silence. Clara continued her care, her gentle presence bridging the gap between them. Slowly, Ethan began to see her not just as a caregiver, but as a reminder of the compassion he had lost in the chase for wealth. Her kindness touched him deeply, and though she never sought recognition, Ethan's heart was stirred to change her life. He began discreetly paying off her debts, arranging for her brother's education, and ensuring she no longer had to struggle for every meal. But he didn't reveal it was him, not yet. He wanted her to continue being who she was without feeling obligated. Clara, meanwhile, noticed small miracles happening around her. Letters arrived clearing her overdue rent. Her brother called her in disbelief when his tuition was suddenly covered. She wept alone, thinking perhaps the universe had finally heard her prayers. Then, one afternoon, it happened. Ethan approached her after she had finished singing to his father. He told her the truth, that he had seen everything, that her kindness had not gone unnoticed, and that he had quietly stepped in to ease her burdens. Clara was stunned, overwhelmed by the revelation. Tears welled in her eyes as she tried to speak, but Ethan gently told her she didn't need to say anything. All he wanted was to honor the kindness she had shown his father, the kind of love money could never buy. In that moment, Clara realized something profound. She had given love freely, without expecting anything in return, and yet life had returned it to her in ways she could never imagine. Ethan, too, realized that all his wealth meant nothing without connection, without compassion, without the simple tenderness of a song sung at a sick man's bedside. The old man passed away peacefully weeks later, but not in loneliness. His son was by his side. His caregiver, who had become like family, held his hand. And he left the world with a smile, knowing he had been loved after all. Clara's life transformed after that. With Ethan's help, she pursued her dreams, her brother thrived in his studies, and she was no longer chained by poverty. Yet, what she cherished most wasn't the financial help, it was the reminder that kindness, even when unnoticed, always has the power to change lives. And Ethan, he had found redemption, not through business deals or riches, but through the quiet song of a caregiver who unknowingly healed not just a dying man, but a broken son. Right finger if this story touched your heart, please like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to Royal Stories. Your engagement helps us bring more stories of hope, love, and second chances to life. Speech balloon special request before we end. Comment below, do you believe small acts of kindness can truly change someone's destiny? We'd love to hear your thoughts.